Zuni jewelry has a long history going back to pieces that they found in the old ruins at Hawiku, where you can see that focus on stonework has always been a signature of great Zuni work. There has always been this interest in shaping stones and creating patterns with the stones. So there's a very long history in figurative work, and the fetishes that have been carved, again, for many centuries, is a tradition that's carried forward now. This is some of the delicate bird fetishes of married Psychoway. Mary and David this is where they tended to focus in their work in grinding down these lovely, delicate pieces. And I think that really is part of the signature of great Zuni work, is this obsessive compulsive is what I call it. I like to say they're some of the obsessive compulsives of the Indian art world, because this idea of precision, of cutting and fitting things together so perfectly, is something that amazes me, especially when you look that this is a silversmith. This is a historic photo, and you look at him working with a traditional pump drill, just a hand pump drill, in drilling holes into the center of a stone. Even down here where a silversmith is working at an old forge. And this ability to create such beauty, originally out of very primitive types of tools, but as it's evolved, and I think to the great pleasure of many Zuni artists, that they now have much more sophisticated type of tools available to them when they are now working at their benches. But even in so saying, that many of your silversmiths still work in fairly simple circumstances. This is a silversmith who's working in the closet. That's the space that he designated that would work within his home. Here, just by a window, a simple work table, and that's still a very common sight, is to have everything they need set up in a fairly small area. And most importantly at Zuni is that beginning the process with fine raw materials, because again, there's just this great love for the combination of materials. And you had these artists, again, starting in prehistoric times, doing wonderful type of inlay in their work, and more recently now, where you see the different interpretations of figures that are important to them. This is a rainbow man here, and this is a piece. This is really a signature piece for Ralph and Lily Calistewa. They like making these wonderful discs, and then typically doing a beautiful inlay of a rainbow man or of a knife wing figure, so that you just have this very showy piece, really, when all is said and done, because the man itself is so beautifully executed in the gold lit and white mother of pearl, jet, Sleeping Beauty turquoise, and coral, in just a beautiful, somewhat of abstract effect in this pen. Another really terrific artist, and this really plays into one of my personal passions, that started with pens that were made for my oldest brother and my oldest sister back in the 50s by Daisy Huey. And these pens were actually portraits of my oldest brother and my oldest sister and their collie that they had at the time, Shep. And they're just beautiful pins, you know, very, very personal, and of course extremely lovely. Today you don't see as many of the Zuni artists focused on this type of figurative work, but one who is just absolutely incredible is Andrea Lanhosi Shirley, and that she is taking some of the traditional Kachina figures, and she'll even focus over on figures that can come from the Hopi mesas as well. But if you really look at everything that she does and how she takes the raw materials to create such interesting effects, like having the abalone shell here, but these wonderful specks and dots, you know, showing the fur cape that is over this Kachina's shoulders. Just the movement that's in there, the detail in the hands and the delicacy of the feet. And the same thing here with the long hair Kachina. It's just such exacting work, even where she'll carve into the shell to create the feather effect. So I think I'm very happy to see this particular tradition carrying on, and certainly that it's not only about these very serious traditional figures, but certainly one of the earliest things that I collected and that I still have is a Mickey Mouse ring that was done for me. And it's interesting that the Zuni silversmiths are some of the very few people that are allowed to recreate these images of Walt Disney, the Charlie Brown images originally created by Charles Schulz, that I think that they fortunately were looking at the larger picture and appreciated these icons of American culture, finding a new way of expression in a very old art form.